Also, I'm really sorry. I say guys because it's just I
No, I
hope
get
it's
you.
clear that it's
Yeah.
like a more of a verbiage thing and not
Yeah.
like
You think
gendered
we're men?
thing.
No, I
I'm like, yeah, no, yeah. I'm like,
Hello, divas, dudes, and dolls.
Welcome to Wig, where we listen to women when they're speaking. This is my co-host, Couture.
This is my co-host, Chelora.
This week, we are joined by the king of kush, the sapphic icon, mega multi-talented, who frequently gets me in the giggle dick, Sukar Baba.
I'm sorry. I King of Kush. That really is me. There's actually nothing else to me. That is my personality.
I
That's
should
my
have.
goal. No, no, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I'm Sukar Baba / baby.
Mm,
Truly. I mean, I'm really just a lesbian on the internet. I'm a designer, I'm a streamer. I don't know. I'm a drag king. But does that I don't know. We can talk about drag. Put that there. Let's just who am I? I'm just me. I'm a friend of Chelora and Chara. That's who I'm showing up as.
I was so
Yeah,
worried
yeah.
you were only going to say my name, and I was like, oh, that's awkward.
That would have been horrible. No, no. Oh my god. No. I'm a friend of I mean obviously I mean
Those are sounds.
mhm. Yeah. I'm practicing thinking before I speak. That's kind of that's what I've been up to in my life. Is thinking before speaking.
That's really healthy, I think.
Mhm. Yeah. But that's me. Yeah, that's me. That's me. That's yeah, that's me. That's I don't know. I'm in a very transitional phase of my life, just like internal, external. So like I don't even know how to introduce myself because I don't know how I want to show up because I'm like I don't know what I want to show up as. Do you ever feel like you do too many things and you're like, "Well, who am I, bitch?" I
Us?
do a
Yeah,
yeah,
doing
I
too
don't
many
know.
things. That's only our whole brand.
I feel like
Yeah, it's
we're also
like
both in a transitional part of our lives, and
Between the
well,
hormones, and
yeah.
and also moving for me, so
Oh, wow. How's moving going?
it's good. I don't have everything quite here yet, and I have an office to set up, but for the most part, I am like moved in, which is nice.
I don't like
Yeah.
moving in general, let alone moving house.
Yeah, I'm only settling into this place now, and I'm like, but I don't know. I'm just like moving is also a state of mind. Like I think just
Mm.
like cuz like it's really symbolic. Like I mean anytime you move, yeah, you're physically moving and you might be moving like 10 minutes, 15 minutes and you're moving all your shit. But I think it's also just like you're moving identities as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though it's like even if it's like it feels like another layer, even if you were kind of already in that identity before you moved, and so you're kind of there is a rebuilding as you're like unpacking. There is like a self-actualization, self-realization that like happens after. I this is That's where I'm at in my life too. I feel like I've been deeply philosophical recently. I've just been like, yeah, I've just, really, really looking at life. That's it.
Segue for one of our questions. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're so on point. You're so philosophical.
I'm philosophical.
Yes, philosophical. That's what it
Yeah.
is. We should
Yeah.
coin that. You should coin
hmm
that.
I
Yeah.
It's a
just
shirt.
did. I just did. What do you mean? I just coined it in real time.
That's merch right there, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Watch
Um,
out, everyone. It's
I was gonna ask
philosophical.
you
hmm
because, as far as I know, you originally started content creation on TikTok, and then eventually moved to Twitch. So I wanted to know more about how that happened and like what were you originally doing on TikTok, and then like what made the move to Twitch.
I was kind of reacting to like what kind of content I was enjoying making at the time. So like I kind of started making content intentionally on TikTok very like randomly. It was like I knew that I always like kind of had this like weird love-hate relationship with like short or long video format content creation, and I was like, you know what, this week I'm just going to start posting. And I'd loved TikTok since 2019. I was on that cusp, before pre-pandemic pro TikTok. you know, everyone thought I was so lame because they're like, "Isn't that musically?" And I was like, "We'll see about that. We'll see about that." You know, it's hard being ahead of the curve in this
Yeah,
way.
being part of a movement.
Yeah, well, it's just like because everyone like doesn't get it until they get it, and you have to kind of be patient and have faith and just be like, no, I know what they're thinking, you know. But so regardless, I was like, okay, I love TikTok. I just wanted to make content, and so I was just like, just making things just to make things because I just wanted to be funny. I wanted to send things to my friends, and I had gone to this like Twilight themed birthday party, and I did not even know this video had been taken of me um eating a taco, and I just look funny, all like I look silly goofy usually when I do anything. So the point is I found this video that my partner had taken of me like dressed up as Charlie Swan from Twilight eating a taco, and I just, you know, captioned it, and then suddenly very viral reaction, which was weird because I was just like, I didn't even think the joke was that funny. I think it was just like at Bella's wedding, wondering why so many people are dating their cousins. I think something like that. I think that was the caption. And but then I was like, whoa, people like this character. And so I like leaned into this character, Charlie Swan, right? But then I was like, how do I make him my own and Mimi? So it's like Charlie Swoon. And I kept making Twilight content because it was just like, it's going to sound horrible. It was a little bit like there was a formula, you know, and I
Yeah.
liked Twilight enough at that point. Just was having a hard time always coming up with videos. And that was when like TikTok Live was still like kind of figuring itself out. And, so I started like going live watching the films as Charlie Swoon, and I would like react to the films. Like again, it was like such a shoddy setup. And then but people would just show up and consistently. And then so I made a Discord because I was like, I just want to stay in touch with all of these cool people. Someone had the idea of reading fan fiction, Twilight fan fiction as Charlie Swan. And I loved reading, and I like I don't know, and performing obviously. And so I started doing that on TikTok Live, and then that kind of turned up the volume. But then that's when I got a lot more hate, and people were just like, and I couldn't. So I was getting banned for simply just opening my mouth. And I was like, why don't I just like switch over to Twitch? And at that
Right.
time, my only real interaction with Twitch had been like I would watch a lot of highlights of like more popular streamers on YouTube, and I'd always been a gamer, and I was like, oh well, this is like fun. I like knew a little bit, but I knew nothing. I did not understand the first raid I ever got. I did not understand. I didn't understand what a raid was. I didn't know what alert what I. The point was I was getting banned too much on TikTok, and I just wanted to keep doing the thing that I was doing,
Yeah.
even if it meant that only 10 people, 20 people, whatever, compared to like the 300 that would show up. I moved over to Twitch, and I kind of wanted to honor my gamer because I was like, I want to play video games. I want to figure this thing out. And I like started really immersing myself in the world of Twitch. And then I kind of fell in love with it as its own platform. But then it's weird because it is like kind of like I kind of abandoned this whole other thing that I was doing. Because it also started to like the content was not inspiring me anymore. Anytime I didn't do anything Charlie Swan related, people hated it. Well, they didn't hate it. They just it didn't have obviously it didn't have the same visceral reaction, even if it was like fandom related, even if it
Yeah.
was like I was making a joke about something else. And it felt like I did not know myself in this identity. I was like people pleasing, but on a larger scale. Like I was like, you guys think this is funny, so I'll do this. And yeah, like I did think it was funny, but I don't know if like I was like setting up little productions in my house. Like I was like really, because you know, I'm also a designer. I know how to edit videos. I know how to whatever. And Twitch kind of allowed me to like start fresh again in a weird way. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of, yeah, that's like and it's weird because like sometimes I do think I'm like, oh, I want to make content again. I want to make videos. I want to make short form. Like, what do I actually want? Like, what do I actually want to make? That's kind of, I'm still figuring that out. I don't know. Content creation is an interesting journey because you're also reacting to platforms growing, mutating, changing over time. You're reacting to audiences growing and changing, you know, and you want to still be your authentic self, but you yourself are reacting to it at the same time. Like you might not know something you want to do until you see it be done. That's I think part of my relationship with drag is I'm like I was like just dressing up as a character, and then you know I kind of got synthesized by my like drag parent, and I kind of like it became very elevated, and it became this like the makeup itself became an art form. And then at the same but then I was like but then I got so caught up in that I was too exhausted to do the performing bit. and to do the editing bit. So then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe Chelora, maybe you have like a similar kind of
No,
love-hate relationship with drag, because you also have like characters that are not like,
I
you wouldn't call
do.
them drag sonas. I don't know, would you?
I guess they're like characters, drag personas. I think especially when we do characters, we have they're they're pulled from something else. And it like it sits in a different pocket of our brain where we become like a different person. Because that, at least that's for me, like how I do acting for those characters. It is difficult because it's interactive. It's not just like one time I did just go out as my old lady character Auntie Laura, and I was in New
Yeah.
Jersey, and
Of course.
we were trick-or-treating for like one of my friends' son who was like 3. And so we're walking around with them, and they're not in costumes, but I am, but nobody thinks I'm in costume because it's New Jersey. Which
Maybe
was
it's
like
dark
kind
outside,
of
though.
it was kind of performance art in a way, because people were just walking by and I'm like walking around
That's
like
method
this.
acting. That's method acting. Like,
And it's
you're-
easier in that way, I think, than doing it actually online, because people online will say hi Chelora instead of hi Auntie Laura, even though like I put it everywhere. Like, this is Auntie Laura and this is her shtick. And then when I'm out of Auntie Laura and just in regular drag, people will still say hi Auntie Laura, and I'm like, I think there's a miscommunication here happening. I'm not really sure what's going on, and it's really annoying and confusing.
Well, it's also
Um,
people might feel shy to participate in the bit. You know,
Yeah.
there is a bit of a kind of like, I see what you're doing, and so like I know who you really are. You know,
Right.
it's like we'll play along. But
Yeah, play the game. It's
Yeah.
a game. I'm providing you a game. Anyway, it's exhausting. Sometimes I can do Auntie Laura for 1 to 2 hours before it's like I can't do this anymore. Like it hurts my whole body. I don't know if you have that experience, but like
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
because like I embody the like memory or the idea of the character. Like, because Auntie Laura for me is built from the old ladies that I knew growing up. So like I have like half French and half English, then like mixed up with like weird random accents and like online characters like Lorraine from Mad TV and stuff like that. I don't know if you remember Lorraine.
I feel like you have to show me a video later.
Did you watch Mad TV?
I did watch a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
I caught
She was
it.
like this old lady, and she'd walk around going, ha all the
I
time.
like that. Can you do that one more time? No, come back to the bit. Yeah, dude.
You're gonna look it up later, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's spot on." Okay.
Yeah, we can replay. Like, can we play a clip of
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I will.
Try the granola.
Gosh, there's probably a million things you could do with this little mini cup, you know, if you spill this stuff out. I mean, you could put
I don't.
a couple grapes or
Sure.
a couple raisins or
Whatever you want.
pistachio shells,
Yes. Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
toenail clippings or
Yeah, ma'am, I'm just here to sell the granola. Yeah.
And like, you know, like the steward and the like, you know, those characters that are coming back right now on TikTok, actually. So all those mixed up, and how like kind of messy but like lovable but like nonsensical they were, wacky and wild and all over the place. So I pull from those memories actively when I'm doing it, and then at the same time, like the back of my brain is like a Rolodex of like what I need to do next, if that makes sense, because it's all improvisation. So it adds that extra difficulty when people are like, "Hey, so and so," it like pulls you out.
Yeah, exactly. It pulls you out. And I think what's like tough about it too is that, but I mean, at the same time, people don't know how to, because there is like I don't know, it's like, have you ever been to like a rent fair? You
Yeah.
know? And like,
Well, I
a lot of
haven't, but I
people
know what you mean.
but like it's interesting whenever I bring friends because like whenever I'm like okay, I'm gonna participate in this like simulation. I'm like even if my character is like rough around the edges and even if I have to like check like kind of bounce out whatever, I'm still like I'm there to like participate. And some people are just like more comfortable viewing, but then it's also like up to you like how much do you want to push it. If someone calls you Chelora, just be like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that I
Never
usually
heard of
just say,
her. Yeah,
my niece isn't
like
here right now. Like,
yeah, and then but then at some point it's just like people actually just it's weird because it is like it's improv, it's role playing, and it's like you're gamifying yourself,
yeah,
you
it's
know.
playing.
It's playing. It's but then people are not always like I mean I love to play. I think that's why I think I have a
Yeah.
hard time with drag is because sometimes you would think in the beginning I mean, drag has such an extensive history that I'm like, when I kind of figure myself into it, I'm like, let me not accidentally do something that am I doing an entirely different thing? Am I doing my version of it? I'm like, I'm a theater kid that grew up in the Middle East. I'm a queer theater kid from the Middle East. And so it's like, so it's like how, when I enjoy drag the most or when I enjoy performance art in this way the most, I'm not as fixated on this other part of the craft that I do care about. But it's just like energy management. Like we talk a lot about time management, but we don't talk about like creative energy management. It's like if I am it's not infinite. I don't think for me it's like it has to be replenished before it can poureth moreth.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it can't, do you know what I'm saying? It's like I think most people are creative people. Everyone wants to make and create and play in truth, People are just like have more or less reluctance,
Yeah.
I think, to participate in creativity in real time.
Yeah.
But that's just to say, like with I don't know. Now I'm fixated on this topic of like making a character,
Yeah.
also being a drag artist, right? And then also being a content creator, because like these are all different things.
And a gamer.
And a gamer, right? Because that's like like it's hard. People have a hard time believing that I like nerdy video games. Like when I say nerdy, I'm just like I don't I enjoy Fortnite with friends. I will play Fortnite with you because I love you. And that's okay. Yes, I like the skins, but I don't actually I don't feel the thing in my body, the visceral reaction when I get if I get a headshot. I don't know, I just don't give a fuck. Like you could tell me tomorrow that like Fortnite is like going under and I'd be like, "Aw,
Oh,
my skins." I'd be like, "My collection." My collection.
darn.
But I have real enthusiasm for like games that I think it feels like I somewhat like a streamer described this really well, but it's like when you're like used to playing games like Fortnite and DBD and Call of Duty, it's like this is amazing. It's like fast food. It's like you can enjoy fast food, but then you suddenly get access to these other games that feel like just like this well of it's just like
Home-cooked meal.
Yeah, it's like exactly. It feels like a home cooked meal with like intention. You get dessert after, you get to sit around the fire, you have feelings about it, you're sad to go, but you know the night has to end. It's not like going through a drive-through for a quick fix. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to go get I'm gonna go scratch my asshole. I don't know. Like that's what and it's good to scratch your asshole sometimes, but that's the thing is like it's weird to be like, well, I actually care about this medium. Like I think it's a medium. Like people thought I was crazy. I wasn't crazy. I was like, I didn't need to fucking look up Silent Hill 2 to know like this is just Jungian dream analysis 101. Silent Hill is just literally symbolism, subconscious symbolism, right? And it's like when you actually get into that, you're like, that's my favorite part of the game. It's not the fact that these monsters look slay, which they do. They look slay. They look slay. I love the wedges. I love everything about it. But like that's not, or I don't like enjoy being scared for the sake of being scared. I'm like, this is like really rich material.
Yeah.
Like this is really conceptually, even Silent Hill 3, when people are like, oh my God, Heather Cheryl is like the womb. And the womb is where creation comes from. It's like the first sin. The first sin is like literally realizing the difference, right? And then she has to birth this hell mouth, because that is like and it's like wow, this could be a thesis for someone's gender studies.
Oh, absolutely. That's what
right?
when I was in college, I majored in advertising, and so all of my like collegiate level research was rooted in video games and marketing, video game theoretical and clinical research has come so far in the last like 5 years that I still like get emails about new studies that get published, and I'm constantly going back and like reading through academic journals to find like interesting stuff. Like I read a really fascinating one about the bastardization of the idea of femininity in a lot of fantasy video games, and it was fascinating. Like just seeing that research all laid out. For me, I'm kind of in the same boat as a medium. I like it for like the theoretical and like and what it can say about people, because it's the same thing that film and music can do and any other form of media, but that level of interactivity, like it puts a new layer of
Then
it.
suddenly now you're dialoguing, you're communicating, you're engaging with the medium in real time.
Yes. Like, I love games that where they have, like, that level of player choice or that level of player monitoring where it's, like, your choices have a significant weight, or, like, the game kind of profiles you a bit. And it's, like, people who make these choices tend to be this way. It's, like, it's just good market research.
I mean, but it's like a lot. I mean, once you kind of take that kind of market research out, because, like, the purpose of a lot of things is to like figure out how to make more money. But then when you actually take that element out and you're just like studying like from an anthropological I don't know how to like, you're just like studying anthropology, you're just like, yeah, like you have to interact with games the same way you interact with music, films, and TV. They are literally revealing to us something about our own collective shared history, or like shared, you know, human experience, you know, because even regardless of the level of interactivity, but because I mean, I also like, obviously I do think I gravitate towards games that have rich stories, and like if there's a level of interactivity that makes it more attractive to me. But even games that feel limited, they're doing something. It's still doing something. And so it's like, I don't know, when people come up to me, they're like, oh, I know people that are like, oh, I don't watch films, or I don't really watch TV. I just watch YouTube videos, or I just read books. I just, you know, people that are just like, oh, I'm interested in this medium, or I'm interested in this media. You know, so I get that when people are like, oh, I'm not into games in that way, because they're just like, I just don't have the energy for that. I understand. But anyone who's just like consumes all form of medias, I'm like, no, there's probably something in here for you to be interested in. Like, my favorite thing is like having friends that are like not gamers, and then just being like, wait, I know you. What if I put this in front of you? What do you do now? You know, like that.
Yeah.
With my partner, I was just like, because she would always play her like little phone games and shit, and I was like, I was very excitable when I like I was like, get you a Switch. And I think I know what games to get you. And it was like interesting because I was like, I know you care about these things. So what if I gave you these games? Like Wildflowers, or if I gave you Cult of the Lamb, and what if I gave you Animal Crossing? And surely enough, she's like, she has like an Isabel tattoo. She like, you know, like she kind of, and then like my other friend, I was like, okay, he really likes these kinds of you know, so I was like, why don't you, he wants that hyper realistic cinema, he's like a filmmaker, right? And he wants that kind of rich story, but also like a rich environment. Like my partner gets nauseous from certain environments. But all he does is fucking play FIFA. Do you know what I'm saying? All he plays is like FIFA, and you know, and I was like, oh, try Red Dead Redemption 2. Just give it a shot. Because I think from a cinematic perspective, I'm like, that's one of the first games where I was like, they're really leaning into the fact that it's meant to be a cinematic experience, almost like but then also this classic story arc, this like it's a very thought out story in a way that like GTA doesn't allow it to be. This is, I think, out of all the Rockstar games, this is why I'm like, I kind of actually care the least about the GTAs, you know, because I'm like, I think Rockstar shows us a completely different side of itself when it interacts with these other games. Because I'm like, yeah, I mean, and surely enough, he was like, I can't stop thinking about the game. And mind you, this is like a queer Egyptian person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this, it's not the fact that they could connect with Arthur Morgan. It's just like, as a film, like I think I was like, okay, you care about this shit. It makes sense that you would care about this game. But I knew if I gave Red Dead to my girlfriend, she would like the story, but she wouldn't be compelled enough to play it. Sorry, that was my little weird. Everyone is a gamer, because everyone can. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
I get it though, because like Yeah, like my boyfriend and I are kind of in that same boat too because we're two very different gamers. Like I grew up with Nintendo only, so it's like very casual, but then as I got older then it became like indie games and RPGs and like stuff with like really big stories, like JRPGs and stuff that's like theoretical discussions on maybe God isn't great and we need to take God down a peg, you know, and stuff like that. And with him, it's like he grew up with a lot of like fantasy PC RPGs, like Wizardry, Mights and Magic,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But then now it's like it's mostly like first person shooters that he plays, like with his friends, and it's gaming is more casual. And I feel like that's also a bit of a byproduct of capitalist culture in a way, because when we're younger, we have time for all these games that have really large stories and you know, but it sucks because we're playing them at a time we probably don't really fully understand the depth that the story goes to, and like all the time you have for as an adult is like stuff that's quick and casual.
It's so real. I literally was talking to like a friend who also streams. That's neither here nor there. And I was like, "Oh my God, are you like you?" I was like, "You would love Baldur's Gate," because she was like, "Yeah, but my computer can't handle it." And I was like, "Okay, what about? Are you gonna play Dragon Age when it comes out?" She's like, "I don't know if I have time for those kinds of games anymore in my life," because now she's like in her mid 30s. And I was like, that was like, I was like, oh my God, but come on, but like it's made for you,
Yeah.
you know, like it's like it's made for you, you know, like but it's true. It's like who has like everything needs time.
Just to throw my little hat in, my husband also doesn't have a lot of time, and for him to like carry out an RPG, he has to be like very invested and like really, really like it because he doesn't have a lot of time. But how do you play like JRPGs or RPGs when they're all super long and you have no time? But I picked Chained Echoes for him because he really likes Neon Genesis and
I was about
or
to bring Chained
Evangelion
Echoes
or
up.
whatever. It has like all the notes I think that he's looking for, and he loved it. He was able to like carry through despite all the stresses going on. And then I'm like carrying all the way from over here from a conversation we just had and so I'm coming back around to what we just talked about. But a friend of mine doesn't play any games. Like the most she's got is like a phone game. Like the game doesn't have much going on. It's one of those like little platformers or whatever. And it's just like I'll play a level before bed. I invited her over and I was like, you know, she doesn't have a lot of time and she really wants to get into cooking, but like doesn't cook. And she loves like these little like sob stories. Not in a demeaning way, but like good sob stories. So come over to my house and I'll put it on the TV and we'll play Venba because it only takes like an hour to 45 minutes. And it has everything in it. Venba is so good.
Yeah.
It is good.
So I do feel like, especially with the addition of like the pool of indie games that we have, everybody's a gamer.
Everybody's a gamer. Everybody's a gamer and everybody's creative. It's like, do I have time to indulge this part of myself? Like, do I have time to go to the gym? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do I have time to go? Do I have time to have 50 plants to water every day? I only have time to water 2 plants. I don't know.
I only see one.
I know it's this one. This was this one.
You don't have time to water 2 plants. The other one died, I guess.
This one. My
Oh,
aloe
okay.
vera. This is my aloe vera that I've had for like many, many years.
I'm just being
Many,
annoying.
yeah, I know. I was like, this snake plant has also survived 7 years, 8 years. So I'm like, I'm like, at least I kept you alive. All the other plants have died.
Proud of you.
Thank you. I needed to hear that.
It's hard.
Hard.
I just buy pillows that look like plants.
You're like hack, life hack.
But I do suppose that conversation does kind of pretty naturally bridge into one of our other questions, which we've talked a lot about, like the factors that you enjoy in games in general. But are there any factors specifically that indies have over AAAs that may draw you more towards that side of the pendulum?
I think just that there are more stories that like kind of there's just a lot more creativity. There's a lot less restriction because you're not trying to cater to this huge audience. So there's like a kind of there's like an honesty, a sincerity usually in the storytelling, I feel like in indie games. Like there's just like they're more willing to be radical, they're more willing to be like different. And you just kind of get to see how creative people you get to see more of the game's actual character, like the game itself
Mm-hmm.
with indie games because it's a smaller team. It is like, so you really the characters stand out. You like it's crazy that now I'm like I get to like DM with one of the writers for like Thirsty Suitors, because I'm like, well, I saw you're writing, like I saw it, like that's you, like that's you, like that's not. So it's like you get just a more intimacy. There's more intimacy. There's more closeness. It's just a different level. It's different because it's like you don't get the shiny as much. You don't get the shiny that you get with the AAA. That's like big money. It's like there's an ideal universe where like you do get like the means to have like the production quality that you would want in any game. The same way you would do that for like a film or TV or even podcast, whatever. Like you're like, ideally, I have what it takes to kind of execute this in a way that I truly want to. But even if you're not able to do that, you still can have like a really real story, and you can still have these elements that you can decide where to allocate that energy. But again, it's like tough because it's like that shiny is what gets people in sometimes. Like I thought, you know what I'm saying? Like you want that, like, whoa, it's like it looks like real life, and wow, look at this immersive environment, and wow, the lighting, and wow, that shit needs money. Like everything needs money.
Yeah.
You want to pay people, and people have lives. So it's like that's kind of the hard thing with indie games. Is like it's amazing because it's like you see what happens when they have more creative agency over what they're producing. You can see it. You see that creative agency. But then on the latter, you don't have the marketing machine that is pushing your game everywhere. You don't have the technical means to kind of make it this really, I don't know. It's like the same, like when you think of movies and you like see an Avenger movie and you're like, this is so shit. I'm like a nerdy kid. I love comics, and like now like I'm looking at all of these like movies and I'm like, this is so, you guys have totally lost the plot. Like I don't know what you guys are making. Like there was a point where you had the production value and it was good in all of these ways, and now you're just like
It's like you're just you're just funneling stuff out to make more money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the Marvel label will sell regardless of how good or bad it is.
So it's like in a weird way, it's like I sound like I'm like, yeah, it's like hard because that's what gets people in, and it's like then that's what people think gaming is this. They don't realize that there are actually just so many ways to game. Yeah, that's I think what I like about indie games. I like what makes me gravitate more towards indie game is I get to see more of the like creative agency and the storytelling usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I see that a lot with like, well, the obvious, like minorities and like body types and like things like that. Especially like women or like feminine body types. A lot of them, I feel like at least for me in my head, especially with like being trans, like it gives me a lot of dysmorphia trying to figure out what my body should look like to me, if that makes sense, versus like what a natural body should look like. Because the media, let alone video games, has created this idea of like this completely unnatural looking person who like, maybe like a few people out there do look like that. I don't know. But people should have a little bit of flub. A little bit of fupa, or a little bit of like a little belly on the side, or muffin tops, or whatever. A little bit of like a tit that goes to the right or to the left or whatever direction she wants to look at. And there are some games that do portray those things. Like I think Chara and I were playing a game last night and I was like, oh, like I love that they have a little detailed lines in certain parts of her body that kind of give her a little bit of shape, or like give her a little flub, or give her like a little bit of like a mush,
Yeah, it's like she would like her, because we were playing Cuphead last night, and there's a boss who's like a mermaid gorgon. As she's like kind of undulating, it's like she has like a little like pudge,
a little belly
that like kind of, and it's not even like
she has a skinny waist.
yeah, it's not even that it's like she's just like wider set, but still with like that more pinup-y proportion. It's when she turns, there is like an indicated like layer of extra fat that it's like you wouldn't normally see that in a game.
Games like really, I think, especially with like women bodies, like have I don't know when I think of like because I can appreciate like Ivy from Soul Calibur,
Oh,
Yeah.
Calibur, right? Like, but it's like the same way I appreciate kind of like for me it's camp. It's not camp
Yeah.
for the bros that play. Like for me, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god, she's
That's-
like to me she is like a queen. Like she is,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
could absolutely be like anyone, you know. But it's like.
Bayonetta.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, she
we
is
talk
very, like, this-
we talk her
yeah.
about or we talk about Bayonetta a lot on the pod, but she's like the prime example of it. Yeah, she is very much when you look at her, you know, just at face value, she's the perfect epitome of what like the male gaze want, you know, out of that where it's like
It's ironic.
yeah, it's like
Even the
but
creator throwing in the glasses just to kind of
to make her look cool, you know, like
Yeah.
And then she's like super sapphic with her all the time.
Like I'm like,
Those like dude bros who are like her like talking about like Aloy or something, and they're like, why does she have like a face blemish? And it's like people have blemishes.
Well, then on top of that, it's like in that environment, it's like they are in a post-apocalyptic scenario. She does not have time. She's on a
Just have a
mission.
skincare routine.
No, she does not have time to slap on 25 fucking pounds of makeup to then go launch arrows and set traps against robot dinosaur animal things. Like, she's got a goal.
She doesn't have what do you call those? Like the Kardashians are like the social media, like not social media, reality TV people. They call them like makeup people. What is that called?
are they called fluffers or something? Or I don't know what they're called.
Fluffers?
I don't know. That's
For the
what
porn
yeah,
industry.
That's
But
that is probably what I was thinking about actually, because I was like, yeah, don't you gotta keep everything up while between takes? You gotta. I mean, it's kind of the same idea. In a way, you gotta keep
Yeah.
everything working.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep
Yeah.
it different, maybe different role. I
Glam.
mean, you did say I was like the Kush King, and I am. You should have known. I am probably in a state of inebriation coming into this.
and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, just in a constant state,
I think they're called glam. Glam.
Oh,
Glam.
yeah, they're the glam
Glam
team.
squad.
These characters don't have glam squads.
No.
No, they don't have an entourage with them. Well, I mean, sometimes
No.
they have an entourage, but they don't have time, and that's not
No.
the point. And it's not the point.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. Is that it's not the point.
Yeah.
And like
It's not the point.
I don't know, like I showed this is comic book, but it's still relevant. But like I showed Chara some pictures of I think it was like the Stepford Cuckoos and like Emma Frost. And it was this this like cute comic that they made of Emma Frost basically being like Anna Wintour, like creating the Met Gala, but it was for the X-Men.
For the Hellfire
Like the Hell-
Gala.
the
That's
Hellfire Gala.
so-
And her body was like it was so real or like approachable or like I don't know, like not attainable, but like relatable.
Felt human.
It felt human. Like she wasn't just like itty bitty little waist. Like I don't know. It was really
think that-
nice to look at and be like, oh, I guess I can do this cosplay. Like I don't have to be skinnier than this to be Emma Frost or to have the idea of Emma Frost or whatever. Like to be a fierce slay diva.
You are a fierce slate diva. You are. You are like right now in your red dress. You are a fierce diva. Yes, and you're wearing your heeled shoes to the pod.
I am to the pod.
To the pod. To the very casual.
Very casual pod.
Casual.
I wear heels casually, so
Well, okay. I don't. But
that's valid.
to me, wearing heels is like an ordeal for me. I'm like, if I'm wearing heels, I'm making a statement. I'm either that or maybe there's family around and I have to
Oh.
do the performance and I have to do the dance,
I'm
do
sorry.
the little jig. Yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, it's all theater. It's all
Yeah.
theater. Well, like when you kind of
All the world's a stage.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
To be a
When you
woman is to
actually look
perform.
at it that way.
Yes,
Yes, that is actually the thing.
It's
It's all an avatar. This is our avatar. You do whatever you want with it.
and you get cast in many different roles throughout your life, and you might get cast into like a role you don't want to be by someone else. Like,
Yes.
I think oftentimes I play a role that I don't want to play for someone else. Like I can be that shit. I can be that person that made you realize something about yourself and it was painful and now you hate me. But to have loved me is also an experience. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I played a role for you. I might have I played the role of your daddy, you played the role of your mommy. It's usually one or the other, right? Either you're playing the role of the mom or the dad or both. When it's both, it's extra fun. It's you're like, whoa.
Good cop, bad cop.
Triggering you,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it. But then sometimes you're also casting people in that role. I'm casting you in the role of my mom or dad somehow. And then sometimes it just gets complex. You're like, oh, I'm casting you in the role of like this. I don't know. I'm just saying everything is like when you participate in the theater willingly and knowingly as like an aware person, then it's not as painful.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm doing this to do it.
Yeah. Indie games.
Indie games. Sorry, I know. I don't know what. Like, guys, I'm just gonna like. I'm sorry. Also, I just talk. I just like. I
Oh,
think
you
it's like
should.
Yeah.
my brain just kind of like. Oh, we're talking about indie games. I don't know.
So just because the name is We Love Indie Games doesn't mean we have to talk about indie games.
Yeah, we can just talk.
We can just love indie games and talk about nothing else.
I love indie. What kind of? Okay, sorry. What's the next question? I'm ready.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sarah,
We can stay on
what is
topic. Stay on topic.
on the next list here?
Uh-huh.
Kara?
Oh, I thought you were asking it.
Yeah, I thought.
I'm like, oh, she's grabbing the list. So I guess the next thing too is like when you're going about streaming or making content, how do you personally go about selecting what you're going to do?
We're so smooth.
I know, it's so slick.
Wait, can you
We are-
elaborate on? I want. Sorry, continue.
I was gonna say we are the way we are with our transitions. We are quite literally like a Segway on a gravel road, just like.
You're like.
Let's stop the car, get out, switch seats. Remember? So silly.
What was the question again?
Yeah, so-
because like I'm trying to really process it, and I'm like, it's a good question, but I'm like, wow, I've never, yeah.
So like when you're selecting what you use for content, whether it's whether it's AAA or indie, like how do you go about that selection process? Because there's so many things out there, but only
I
so
have to
so
really
little
care about
time.
the content. I have to really give a massive fuck about something about this. Something about whatever I'm fucking like. If I'm doing Roblox dress to impress, no, it's because I care about dress up in my life. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not like I'm just playing Roblox because everyone's playing Roblox. Even when I played like Black Myth Wukong, which came out like a month. But I was like, I love Chinese lore. I love Chinese mythology. And I was like, what? I was like, obviously they were like but so I was like, I was just kind of going to, I knew what I was going to appreciate about it. So anytime I'm picking anything, I'm like, do I have a genuine, sincere connection to this? And if I feel like it's, because it's a range, right? It's like, there are some games where I'm like, okay, this is like me. Like for example, playing Thirsty Suitors, I was like, it was a compulsion. Like, I was like, this is like, like this game is about me-ish, or or it's about the kind of people I love. It's about someone, it just felt so familiar and so tangible. But if I cannot find the familiar and the tangible in it immediately, I'm gonna have to dig for it. Same thing with, I think Silent Hill is like, it's a AAA game, however, I think the story behind it and like the concept is quite, I think it's like, I hope people kind of get it. People even within queer spaces, and I'm like, everyone is like really hung up on like Pyramid Head and Pyramid Head's ass, and his ass does look great, but I'm like, you guys, I think that's actually James's like shadow. I think that means he did something really bad, and I think that's the story, and you're totally missing the whole fucking point. But then I'm like, okay, that's what it is for them, and that's kind of cool that that's what you're getting from it. So for me, it's just like, even if I can't find that tangible thing that I can relate to, I'm still finding ideas and thoughts and storylines that I'm like I can really like digest. And if it doesn't have I kind of switch gears. If it's like if it's only like kind of a shallow interest, you know, and I'm not willing to dive deep into it, or I start to get insecure about it. Because it's sometimes you like you can't convince your crowd that this thing is like worth being interested in because your reaction to it is so, you know, mediocre. Like I'm just like, "Meh," you know. So I try to be really comfortable with like switching gears all the time. Sometimes I think I switch gears too often. I have commitment issues, but then I'm also like I'm doing this for pleasure. Like why am I creating obligation out of something I do for pleasure? Why am I creating like restrictions around like if I am reacting authentically to my interest in something, and so if the interest is not maintained or something new is kind of grabbing my attention, I kind of have to respect it. And like I don't know, the things that I like about games are usually like it's different for every game. It's like I'm learning how to love being a quote unquote variety gamer in general, not like just a variety streamer. Like I think I play a lot of different games and I know what
Yeah.
kind of games I have a hard time with. And sometimes I'm willing to try it for a friend or just for the experience, but like I know material things that kind of grab my attention. Like am I able to move comfortably? Is like the music good? Is it like there's a functional element that allows me to that allows me to stick to content that I like the material that I'm that whatever the thing is that I'm making content about. Like it allows me to stick to it if I'm able to like recognize what about it is working for me. But if that thing that's working for me is just not working anymore for whatever reason, it's not shiny anymore, it's not attractive anymore, I have to let it die. Like I have to let it go and just like allow the new thing to kind of, and if there isn't, this is something that I've been wrestling with. I'm like, if there isn't anything catching my attention, I'm also not going to force anything.
Yeah.
Just because it feels interesting to a lot of people, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be, I don't know. That's a weird one. Is like kind of being like, okay, there's nothing grabbing my attention right now. So either I make something, like either I find something old or I kind of become like we have to decide that this content is worth sharing at some point, right?
Yeah.
Or like this whatever this is this thing that we're in, whether it's a game, it's like a type of media, it's a show, you have to be like, no guys, this is like this is cool for this reason.
Hard to convince people, or not convince, but
Yeah.
like sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, this game is cool because this, and then people are like, oh, and it's like, why are you not excited about
Because it's not
this
as
stuff?
shiny, it's not like people, it's like I mean
Yeah.
I get it, it's like the same, it's like I don't know, it's I can't fault people because I'm like there's a reason that this isn't appealing to you in that way, and we kind of have to respect it and be like, well, what would it take for this to be appealing to you, right? Does it
Yeah.
be marketed in a different way? Does it need to be more affordable? Do I need to present it in a different way?
Yeah.
I think I care about a lot. That I think part of what when I'm choosing something, I that's why I think I try to make myself the center of the whatever thing I'm trying to present. I'm like kind of the centerpiece because that's the only thing I can truly control. I can't control anything else, any other element that people are reacting to. That's so
Yeah.
meta. I got really meta. I am so sorry.
No, I relate to
So-
that too. Like sometimes I get provided a game and I'm like I feel that obligation and I'm trying to remove myself from the obligation because like I've been hounded before by like PR people being like, "Did you play the game? Like where's the content? Where is it? Where's the video? Send me the video." And I'm like, "No."
It's like you have to kind of, I think there is like this like people pleasing. I really have been thinking a lot about how like people pleasing figures its way into like creation,
Yeah.
because I don't like, because it's like even in your relation, like people wanting you to play a game. So whether it's from like that PR angle of like the producers of the game want you to play it, and also from like people on the internet or anyone, your friends
Yeah.
wanting you to play a game, it's like anything that's kind of done just to be done is just not, you're not gonna like embody, I don't know, it's just weird. Yeah, it's weird when you're like, well I'm still figuring out how to show up, like because you're asking me like, okay, how do I pick the thing, and I'm like, it just I have to really sit with it, meditate, and be like, do I actually give a fuck about this, or do I feel like I'm being told I should give a fuck about this because it represents this and this and this and this. I'm literally trying to combat my people pleasing even as I engage with media, content creation, any kind of creativity. Just because you can do it, just because it is good, it doesn't mean that you necessarily like something can be amazing. It can be an amazing game and you still just might not be like, oh, I just don't want to play it today. I don't want to play games, period. I want to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like your energy and your preference is really important in like setting those boundaries for
Yeah.
yourself and for others. It's hard. I think it's really hard to set up, especially for like people pleasers. Because like
Yeah.
I just came back from therapy
Oh, yeah.
Tell
today.
us.
And we just talked about that last week about people pleasing and moving yourself from that mindset and like coming towards respecting yourself and respecting your energy, your mental state, your everything. It's difficult because especially in the content creation verse because you're trying to like output something that will be popular and then you become like your own marketing board and the marketing board is I in my head people who do marketing I can only imagine are like the biggest assholes in the world because they're always like make her skinny, do this, like get rid of these women, make that a man, like things like that. And because they're trying to sell things. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to like get rid of that mindset for the purposes of like your well-being.
Like figuring out how to not taint a creative practice because ultimately it is a creative practice. It's like
Yeah.
it's like kind of ritual you do for yourself to kind of foster joy in your body, right? And then suddenly you're like, well, am I picking this thing for me or am I actually picking this thing because I think it's gonna get me this and this and this? I have to like constantly fight. You know how often I want to play all of these PS2 games, and I'm just like, well, that's not like people won't like, and I'm like, well, why am I making that assumption? Why am I already projecting?
I
You
would watch
know,
it.
Oh
I
yeah.
know you. I know you too would. I know you, but that's the thing. It's like it's that people pleasing, right? It's
Yeah.
like that, like, oh, I don't want people to be bored. I don't want people to like, well, why am I don't want to be bored. Like, why
Yeah.
am I like, how do you find that dance? Because you can derive pleasure from people's pleasure. I am happier when the people around me are happier. It's like part of like facilitating a party. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you're like the party host, it's like the party isn't like you can't enjoy the party unless your guests are enjoying the party. Just then you're a
Yeah.
shitty host. But then
Like
how
put
do you kind
karaoke on and then like three people don't like karaoke at all and they're sitting in the corner like
you gotta react. You gotta change
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
I teach full time, okay, and like people I think don't understand. I teach graphic design, and I teach at a collegiate level to art students, right? And it's always interesting. I have to constantly shift my class to the students that are in the class sometimes, depending on the class too. Where I'm like, you guys are not driving with this at all.
Yeah.
And if the point is to get you to make something and to be yourselves, like I just have to switch it up. But then I also can't be putting myself in a position where I am not driving with what I'm switching it into. It has to be a collaboration. I'm still learning this. Like after 4 years, I'm like, as the classes get more and more challenging, right? I'm just like, how do I really respond in real time to if there's an interest in something? Like let's say like people are just really interested and I'm interested in their interest. Like how can I honor that and still not put myself in a position where I'm just making myself uncomfortable? Dance, I really feel like it's a dance. Like you have to know when to lead and you have to know when to be led.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can still enjoy the dance. You can enjoy the dance while you're being led, but as long as you're dancing. If you're just like kind of being like carried, it's not as fun. You're just like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm just gonna do what I want with the vessel that is you. And then you're just like a puppet. Like you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
I told you guys, I'm in a really also I'm really sorry. I say guys because it's like it's just I
No, I
hope
get
it's
you.
clear that
Yeah.
it's like a more of a verbiage thing and
Yeah.
not like
You
gendered
think we're men?
thing.
No.
I'm like, yeah, no, yeah. I'm like, it's no, I wish I want to like, I would love girls and guys to be like genderless in my universe, but I know that's not possible. And you have to kind
Yeah.
of just like be like, okay, well, like it maybe, just again, it's a dance. You have to know when
Yeah.
to be like, well, that's not how I mean it, but whatever makes you comfortable, I'm now gonna switch to y'all.
Y'all. That's
Y'all.
what I've been trying to do.
Yeah,
but
that's
I'm
what I
like,
do.
Y'all.
I
But
feel
I'm
so
not.
southern.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
from the
like,
I'm from the
y'all.
Midwest, so like we all say y'all all the time. It's not anything weird. There's times I talk with it or use it and I'm like, God, I sound like I'm from fucking Kentucky. Just brings out like a southern drawl that I'm like, this doesn't normally exist.
We're either southern, Midwest, whatever, whoever says y'all the most, or we're that professor from Futurama. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Good news,
news.
everyone.
Good news. Should we just pick a character for the rest of the podcast?
For all of us or each?
Each. You want to decide which you decide, Chelora. You decide.
Okay, you'll be your French character. And
Oh, okay.
Chara will be weren't you like a nun character?
Yeah, but that's just me.
Oh.
It's just me in a habit.
Well, I have to get you out of that habit.
And she is a bit gun crazy, but that's a bit it. That's about all there is to her.
Oh, she's a bit gun crazy.
Yeah, I had a mod who was like, which is kind of going back to the obligation of playing things for your community. One of my mods was like, I'm buying you these games for Halloween. Play them because I bought them for you.
Oh, I hate that.
And then it started a thing.
Like,
It started a thing in my community where people were like, "Oh, if I buy you a game, will you play it?" And I'm like, "No, don't buy me things." I'm like, "I will do this one time for you." And
It's like one time because I love you, and that's why I'm
Yeah,
doing
basically.
it. Because I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
You can't make me enjoy something.
yeah, and so like,
Sorry, mom. Sorry, dad.
and he bought me the entire Fear trilogy. I don't like scary games. I don't like horror games. I appreciate horror as a genre, but that's it. And I don't like first-person shooters. I'm just bad at them. So he buys me a horror first-person shooter series, and I was trying to find ways to like make the gameplay tolerable, and the only way that I could do it was that upon the discovery of cheat codes that would give you unlimited ammo and God mode so you would never die. And so then it became the bit was that I was this nun who was visiting Chara. Now she's sort of like the character for horror game content. She comes into town and, you know, she does her little prayer and she has the power of God on her side, so she takes no damage. So then I'm just like dual wielding pistols, just running around, missing all the jump scares because I'm just zooming past all of it. I'm not letting this happen. I have things to do. No, I have places to be. I have things to shoot.
I don't have time for fear.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
I
then,
don't.
exactly. And then people were like, "Sister, do your guns have names?" And I went, "Yes, Ave Maria." And so like I was like, let me just lean into all of this like religious trauma of not growing up Catholic but Baptist and just play with it. So it's fun.
I mean,
I think
you
that's
really
how you
took.
reclaim it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you took really good control of the situation, and like
think
made
so.
it your own thing.
Yeah. And
You
then
participated in the theater.
if people acted up, I had a ruler. I was ready to smack them.
It's like if you really want me to play this role, I'm gonna play it how I want to play it.
Exactly.
If you want me to be
That's
this
it.
person, I'm gonna be my version of this person. That's the only way that this is gonna be. That's
I
the
think-
only way we're gonna have communion.
I did force a character one time, and it just did not go well. So listen to what we're saying. Mary Sue Ellen was not meant to be the way that she was.
The realtor.
The realtor lady.
I
yeah.
loved her.
She was like a
With
forced
her.
output with not enough time to like put her together. But if
Everything was
if
done.
everybody enjoyed her, then I'm happy for you. But I did not.
I mean, I really get it. I really wanted Charlie Swoon to die. I did not know what he was. Sometimes it's weird because I'm like, I also don't want to be gendered sometimes. I'm like, I don't
Mm.
want gender. I don't want it. Like, I don't want, and sometimes I hate the idea of like, kind of like, it's weird. Y'all want to know like this kind of my wrestling with drag and where I'm at now is like, I'm just like, I think it's going to sound crazy. Like it feels a little bit like I was like drag was like my kind of like my little shield, right? And then at some
Mhm.
point it just started holding me back
Yeah.
because I was just
Mhm.
like anything that did not fit or make sense within this realm was suddenly, do you know what I mean? I'm like,
Suit of armor, and you became a tank, but you're really not a tank, and it's holding you back, and you got to take it all off and become a different class.
exactly.
You gotta
really-
respect.
But that's the
Gotta
thing. I
respect.
I still want to be able to do that when
Yeah.
I want to. Can't be all the time. That's
Yeah.
just not. I don't think that's the character I want to play. I don't want to be like just known as this character. I want to be known as me who is able to tap into that character.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Because drag has that same thing. I feel like people don't give you the time of day within the queer community, unless you're like a drag artist, and even then it's like usually like it's like a very specific kind of drag queen,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, a very specific, you know, kind of, and I get it because it's like healing. It's healing for a lot of queer people to see this kind of like untouchable, very like powerful embodiment of femininity. But I'm like, but people want to embody different things. And it's like if that's, but so I understand. It's like, okay, if that's what you're into, I get it, and I don't want to like, that's not wrong or right. It's just like it's weird because it's like as a drag king, you're like, but we need more drag kings, we need more air, and I'm like, I know, you do, we do, but do you know what I mean? I just I can't feel forced to do it, and for a moment I thought like I was like, oh, people really only really cared if I was like, I don't know, but I got it. It's just confusing. It's confusing. I'm confused.
Like you feel like you have to be in drag for people to pay attention, but you're tired of doing drag and you need to take a break. But if you take a break, even just from drag, people won't pay attention anymore. So you have to keep being in drag. You have to be a puppet. You gotta do the little dance.
I gotta do a little dance.
You
I don't
can't
wanna
if you
do a
stop
little
dancing,
dance.
they'll stop coming.
So I know so many drag artists that are like it's confusing because it's like, well, what do you like? Do you like because I like being able to transform into another character, and I like the makeup as its own thing. Like I like all of these like separate elements
Yeah.
of it. But I feel like I can't honor all the elements to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for example, on like Twitch, it's hard because I'm like, I mean, you're telling me I'm getting into a full face. It's gonna take me 3 hours. I'm in a corset. I'm like in my binder. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this and this and this. I'm like a clown, and I'm uncomfortable, and I want to play the fucking game. And I want to react to the game, but I'm too busy trying to keep my mustache from falling, trying to keep my wig on, trying to like breathe evenly so that I don't pass out. But I'm in my home. I'm in my home where I'm supposed to like, so it's like a
supposed to be comfortable.
psychological. Yeah, I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
comfortable. So it's like this psychological. But again, I think because for me, it's like the thing that I love about drag is like I do love any kind of beauty. So that's not to say that I like it when I'm able to spend 3 hours on my makeup and I'm like, whoa, look at that blend. Wow, I can really get lost in my jawline. I love that. I love getting lost in my own jawline, but I'm just too distracted by that thing to like even be present with people. If what I like about Twitch and what I like about streaming is my ability to engage with people, I have a harder time smiling when I'm in full makeup. Like if you become there's like restrictions that I just didn't anticipate. You know, I just can't show up as myself. I'm only now even starting to recently like be like, oh, I'm not gonna wear makeup, period. Like as a femme presenting person, I'm just like not gonna wear. Yeah, I have bags. I'm getting older. I have wrinkles. I have a double chin. I have whatever. Like I'm wearing a sweater. My form isn't showing. Like I'm not showing off like I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a moment where I was like, okay, well if I'm not doing drag, then I really got to be like a little sexy girl, little sexy alti kitten. Meow meow, like look at my piercings, look at my tattoo. Like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I want to smoke weed and play video games. I want to talk to you. I want to hang out. Shut the fuck up. Enjoy the fucking video game. Stop. But there's the thing, people aren't breathing down your neck to do that. To be honest, half of it they are. There is like this kind of ambiguous, like kind of unseen, like kind of morphing that happens. Yeah, and then you project it, and you're like, well, I have to be the thing. I have to be the thing that this kind of entity I've created out of all of these different people. Well, it takes one one person will ask you, why aren't you in drag? It's one person who barely comes. And now my fucking whole psychology, because they just aired that part of your insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
You will fucking you will look for that excuse. You will find it. You will find the reason not to do something. The other fucking day I was really, because I took a hiatus from streaming, right? A little break. And I was like, before going live, I think I was freaking out about other things, and like my partner was like scrambling, and I started to realize I was like getting anxious at her, and I had to be like, I'm so not anxious at you. You were just right here and present, and I can't, and I'm just trying to find a reason not to stream.
You just have the release valve.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I literally was like sabotaging in real time, and I was like, why? If I don't want to stream, then don't stream. Who's making you stream? Who's holding a gun to my head? You know, but if like no one is holding a gun to your head, I will like, you know, like you kind of go off frame. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to
Yeah.
play pretend and like, because it's like when you're used to that though, because it's like it is real. I think that's the other thing is that it is real. You do get that kind of reaction. People do question like, why aren't you playing this? Why are you why? And that's okay. Just let them air. Like that's not. You don't have to fucking. You don't have to make everything. If you decide to integrate it into your wound, it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like why am I moaning about people caring about how I look when in truth I do care about how I look. That's the projection. I care the most about how I look. I don't want people to know that I'm aging and that I bite my lips or that I look this way. I don't want them to know. Me.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck, and some of them do give a fuck, and the ones that do give a fuck, they're insecure about their own shit and they're wrestling with it. So what, you know what I'm saying?
Lately, I've noticed. Well, I haven't streamed in like 2 months, but
Real.
well, my computer broke, but
Oh.
it's also been like a few weeks since it's been fixed. I've just been like playing catch up. I was snapping at my viewers because they would pick at things. I don't know. I think I got really tired of just placating and like be like just taking it and then being insecure about it later. I mean, obviously that made me more insecure about like, are they ever going to come back? I also started telling myself like, why do I care? Why do I care so much about numbers or like about, you know, like I think I do care because I want to create emotional like meaningful connections with people. I don't actually like want to make money. I don't want to make, you know, all this stuff. When I reach out with people like to play games, it's because I actually want to play games. It's not because I want their numbers. Like I could give less of a shit. I do think I just got tired of like people picking at things and then they knew that they could keep picking at things or they got comfortable picking at things, you know, like, and I didn't want that for my community. So I started snapping at people. And I don't want to be snappy, but I also don't want to take any shit. So
It's a dance because it's like, yeah, at some point you have to ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this because I want to enjoy the game? Okay, so then enjoy the game. Who told you to turn the camera on? And then, okay,
Yeah.
well, like, no, I want to enjoy it with people.
Yeah.
Okay, then if you invite people to your house, like make sure they have a comfortable chair to sit on or else they're not going to come back, right? It is kind of like this
Come
weird
sit, Chara.
thing.
Okay.
Coming
Is
over.
it comfy?
Yeah.
It really is such a fucking weird thing to be like, I've forgotten why I started doing this. You know, because you get so lost in the sauce and you're like, I'm a creative person. I care about gaming. I care about community. How big does my community need to be in order for me to sustain it? Because I think if you also don't honor those things and you're not honest about it, then you also are going to be like resentful because it's like what does a certain viewership really mean? It means engagement. It means that you're not kind of talking to a wall, and that's valid. If I wanted to just like if I was a musician and I just wanted to practice by myself, then that's what I would do. But if I want to perform in front of an audience, I want an audience, you know? I know for me, like even for me, and I know there's like a delicate balance because I do like to talk back. There is a point where it's like if it gets too busy, I lose that thing. If it's too low, then I hope I have something entertaining enough that I don't need to react to that. I don't need to do something for the money in order to feel okay that I am spending a lot of money on this shit. Streaming is like the most expensive hobby I've ever had.
Yeah.
Hobby.
Yeah.
Hobby. I can't even justify it as a hobby. I think it's a passion. I think it's a practice. But it's like I invest. So it's like you're like, oh, someone. But then it's like, well, you're subbing, but then half of that money doesn't even go to me. You know. Then you're like, am I participating in a scam? Am I falling for the scam?
Are we in an
Like,
MLM?
Are we in an? I talk about this all the time, and people don't want to hear it. And I'm like, Twitch is just like a big MLM. Like this, like the minute you guys are like, oh, subathon, marathon, I'm like, you're participating in it. You're like, send more money to me that will actually get sent to Twitch. And Jeff Bezos and Dan, don't sleep, don't eat, go for as long as you can. Like, because the longer you go, the more people will show up. You don't want to break your sub streak. You don't want to break your watch streak. These are all gamified elements to make you stay longer. And then we wonder why streamers are burnt out. The platform itself is not rewarding streamers. Like I really sometimes I'm like, I think everyone should be crazy and just like move over to TikTok just to give Twitch a bit of a
Just for a month.
just for a month, just to kind of feel what it feels like to actually have an algorithm that is doing what it's supposed to be, because Twitch is also a wasteland. It's like, yeah, no one's gonna show up. It's like having it's like having a store. No one knows you're there because they don't get the notification. They don't know what the fuck you're doing because the categories and the tagging system is totally inaccurate. I'm like, you don't know what experience you're getting. Even this like kind of new scroll feature where they're trying to TikTokify,
Oh,
right? Twitch.
I hate
I'm
it
like, you
so
guys-
much.
it's terrible.
It's like you're not doing the thing right. It's like I don't know how Twitch. In truth, like I see Dan kind of want to make this a music platform, and I'm like, maybe that is a smarter move for you. But then you have to really reconcile. It's like people want live content. I get really excited when I see streamers like do things that I would not expect, like when they role play, or when you're just like, you kind of this is literally a video format you can do anything with. You can do
Yeah.
anything. And instead you're like, no, I go in the right corner, and this is where my chat goes, and this is the game, and we play the game, and this is what we do, right? I get excited when people kind of break that format because you're teaching and showing people how different it can be. And then then the platform tries to go with it. But I think it's not sustainable creatively. Like if you have to stream for even like streaming for a certain number of hours, it is just being under the lights for that long. Like you have to, like when people do a film production, they fucking go into their little trailer and they fucking, do you know what I'm saying? They go away. Streamers are not expected to go away. There is such a poor boundary system even with the platform, not just with viewers, because sometimes people conflate it. It's like, oh, I'm trying to create boundaries with the view. No, it's actually with the fucking platform itself. The platform enables this kind of thing, and
Parasocial, yeah.
it's parasocial. But even then, I kind of I don't think people honestly, in my opinion, when we think of parasocial, it's like people thinking that they can talk to Beyonce. There's actually nothing parasocial about you knowing my life when I actually do tell you what's going on in my life, and then you react to it in real time. It's more so that you think you have a say in what I do, but it's like some viewers do have a say because we are closer. And it's okay. I am closer to some people because I choose to be closer. We have more in common. I like them. I like the way they talk. I am not obligated to have this level of closeness with everyone I interact with.
We're
Why do you
not
wanna
your
be
like
close to
your
me?
little terrarium that you get to like poke at once in a
Exactly.
while.
Just to me, I think there needs to be like I was talking about it at TwitchCon all the time because everyone at TwitchCon was having so much fun, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I haven't streamed in a while. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back." And I'm like, it's fine. If this is what you got out of it, this is also fine. You got these relationships. You got to feel. I had to have a really hard realization. I was like, I think I don't enjoy gaming. I don't enjoy certain games as much by myself anymore. I just don't. And it's like, if I just need two other people with me to play a fucking game, then that's just what I need to play the fucking game. I don't need to kind of be the most entertaining. I just need two people around to enjoy, or one person around to enjoy a game, because I don't like going to the movies by myself. Maybe if it's a movie I already watched and I liked it, then I'll go by myself. I mean, y'all play together. You play games together. Sometimes it's like, I don't have, like, aside from my partner, I'm like, who else am I? I can't make her watch me all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I have to find someone that's actually into this specific game or into this thing. Sorry, I'm being I'm kind of just, this is my honest to God. It's just like, I feel like we don't talk about Twitch and streaming as its own thing. As it's like this kind of thing where it's like it wants you to keep going, but then you get burnt out. Like you have to get burnt out if you do it this way. There is no other way but for you to get burnt out. And it's like when I see, now I see a lot of co-working streams, and I really like co-working streams, but at the same time I get a little anxious because I'm like, you're so on all the time. You're in a state where like you're just supposed to be focusing, doing your own thing, but you're still on. But then I'm like, maybe it's good.
I was gonna say, I don't really see the point of them. Like, for me, doing art on stream, like, for me, that is a co-working stream, because, like, that's what I do for my job. But if I was doing, like, I don't know, office work, but streaming while doing it, or doing, like, work from home things, but also streaming, I don't know. It just feels weird to me, because, like, I mean, even when I do art streams, I don't focus as much on what I'm doing because I'm trying to have good conversation. And then if I find myself getting too focused and working on the art, I'm like, oh, I'm not checking the chat. I'm not paying attention to what's going on. I haven't spoken for 35 minutes, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just feel like co-working streams, like the purpose of co-working is so like yeah, there's people around you, but you're all working on stuff and you're all getting stuff done. But when you're making it into content, you're defeating the purpose of that because now you're making it entertainment.
You're not honoring the thing that you kind of are setting out to do. But again, I understand people are like, well, I work a full-time job and I stream, so it's like, how do I get to check in with people? And if, like I said, if it's helpful for you, because for some people they're like, oh, I'm isolated. I don't like working in a coffee shop either. So you just want company. So I kind of get it. But then at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm like, just watch out, because like I don't. For me, it's like I can kind of acknowledge it and be like, okay, I can watch. Sometimes it's nice to watch a co-working stream and work at the same time. I'm like, okay, it's cute. But I kind of get worried for the headspace that the person is in. The lines are blurring for you, baby.
Yeah.
When you are taking the camera into every element of your life, these are moments of focus. But if you are able to kind of be like, no, I'm just co-working. My camera's just on. I'm just keeping people company and I really don't give a fuck. I'm not trying to entertain. Okay, are you able to kind of make a very clear distinction when you are trying to entertain? I don't know. Again, I'm curious, but I'm also like, I'm a little cautious. Like, because I'm
Yeah.
just like, what does this really entail about us socializing? Do you know how many streamers I kind of watch and I'm like, you need to go out. Like, with all
Yeah.
the love in my heart, go make a fucking friend.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
with all the fucking love and affection, you are not gonna solve any of your psychological problems that you are actively going to therapy for here.
It's a cesspool.
It's a cesspool. It's a breeding ground that just like it's like a tar pit.
And we're not going to like make the tar pit better by not going out and experiencing real world things and like cooking a real meal or like experiencing things. Because when we go online and all we talk about is stuff that happened on Twitter, well, we're just online. Like, go talk about you saw a tree today and how you loved like the way that the bark looked or something. Like, go do an art study of the freaking tree. Just something. Anything.
Yeah.
But to your point
You
about
have
like
to.
the productivity chats, like, to all the power to people who, for them, maybe it works better. I don't know. But like, what difference would it make if you were, I don't know, in a Discord call or just on FaceTime?
Exactly.
Or
Literally.
Yeah.
because the point, at least in my version of Twitch, is entertainment and to like get money and to, you know, advertise for advertisers or PR people or whatever. Like, that's kind of like what its main focus is, in my opinion. And like, when I'm on Twitch, I can't stop focusing on, well, is my hair okay? Is there something on my face? What does my camera see? What is the box that I'm in? You know, like, am I wearing underwear today? Like, I really need to pick my nose. Like, you know,
I need to fart.
I need to fart.
I need
Like,
to
I'm
fart.
a big ball of gas.
I need to go get a snack. Do you know how often I get
Yeah.
up to get snacks? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm like leaving this oh my god, I'm like leaving the screen. I keep leaving.
And like, sometimes a snack is like literally like it's like
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah, it's just
It's-
I'm just quietly chewing.
People hate that, right? Like,
They
well, some people
do.
love it, but there are
Mhm.
people who do hate it. So, sorry to those people, listeners. I'm so sorry. It's too many extra elements of, I need to get my work done. Just to throw an indie game in there, I've been using Spirit City, the game, as their productivity tool, which has been really helpful for me actually, because they have like a task organizer and stuff, and I've been using that, and like, I just put in the tasks and then I complete them and then I get points and then I get spirit friends and I have like a little friend with me. And anyway, it's very adorable. It kind of feels more rewarding that way. I just get shit done, and then like, I put the timer on and then I get to take a 15-minute break. I always take the opportunity to get up and go do something. And if you're a streamer, you don't get to get up and go do something. You don't get up and go do something for 30 minutes. You have to be on. You have to be. And like, it's not just like, well, I can walk away. No, who's moderating your chat? Is your moderator there? Like, having good moderators, not just moderators, but like good moderators, is a privilege. Like, I have been offered to have a few moderators, and I'm really grateful that they want to be moderators and to be helpful, but they're not always like 100% attentive on the way that I am. I don't know. It stresses
But
me
it's
out.
your responsibility. It's your responsibility because you can't. Yeah, it's a lot of work to kind of be managing it, and so you have to be the one keeping them on as well, and that requires a
Well,
level of
especially-
attentiveness. Yeah.
Especially for queer people. Like we get attacked maliciously,
Yeah.
or malicious. Well, obviously maliciously.
Yes, maliciously, yeah.
Whatever the word is for a lot that I was trying to say.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. It's
Every
true, you
day.
have to be on. It's like, but then it's like this person is coming back home from work. You know, they work on their feet all day and they're like offering to do this like free service for you to maintain a safe community because they're part of the community. So they're like, oh, I want to keep the community safe.
Yeah.
But it's like they also can't be on all the time. So when you're live and you're on and you're asking people inherent, like even if you're like, hey, it's okay, you know, you guys, like you don't need to, you know, show up if you can. There's just like a level of onness that I don't think we should kind of keep promoting. Like sometimes I want to like I'm if co-working and if that is your content and you're like you're just like you're someone who wants to help people stay organized and you know how to curate the kind of productive vibe. You're like, I have this fire playlist and you know whatever and I'm like, or how often is it that you just feel guilty you're not live? Like, do you feel guilty that you're not live? Just be
Yeah.
honest.
Are you
Because I
scared of
feel
losing
it.
your viewers?
Yeah.
Or that like people will just disappear if you don't show up?
Maybe you do want to hang out with them. So what does it look like to go live for 2 hours and just be that person and then just go? But 2 hours, like people barely show up after 2 hours. Like I have to be live for. Do you know how many people I know that stream for 8 hours because they're like, oh well, people don't show up. I don't get any raids until this and this and time. And I'm like, but then those are not even the community members that are showing up for you. These are just like people that are passively there.
Yeah.
And so like, but you are kind of trying to signal to other people outside, look at the people watching me, but they're not watching you.
That just left their computer on and they walked away.
Exactly. There is really like, because I see so many people are like, oh, I'm a mental health advocate on Twitch. And I'm like, advocate for your own mental health, bitch. First and
Yeah.
foremost. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because it's concerning. Like again, not naming any names, but I'm just like, I know that a lot of your problems would like, I see people that are like, I went to therapy, I did this, and it's like, you know, therapy is not the actual problem solving. You have to take what you're talking about in therapy and actually apply it
Yeah.
in real time, all the time. You can realize every problem and still not do anything about it.
Yeah, your therapist can't do the work for you. They can only give you the advice that you need to follow and like the tools to do it. But like, if you're not doing it, like it's not gonna do anything.
I fucking have to make a distinction sometimes because I feel like I feel like I'm community oriented in every aspect of my life. Like what I do with teaching is very community oriented. I don't teach. I think teaching is like probably my most honorable profession that I do. Like, and people are like, oh, well, do you teach? Like people, those that teach because they can do it. I'm like, no, bitch, I can do and a half. It's not about me in this room. I know what I'm able to facilitate for these like young creative people or people that are not that much younger than me. I know I know what these art institutions look like. I know they're a scam. And I would rather be the person that they need me to be in this moment, so in their growth, rather than not participate in it at all. I know that I do that with my studio that I run outside. I have this like queer Arab run studio and we're like a creative space. And it's like obviously like we can't afford it half the time. It's like it's coming out of our own pockets half the time, but I know we're creating this important thing, right? And so I even make that distinction between Twitch and Discord. I'm like, no, like my Discord is not as like this kind of me promoting my stream. It is kind of for me to have connect. I need it. I need it for me. I need to feel like I need to see you connecting with each other to feel like Twitch is what I do to because I want to also scratch that entertainer itch in me. If I suddenly make my Twitch thing what I want my Discord thing, my community thing, it's poisoning the thing. People get so upset when they're like, oh, when I make content and my face is on it, it doesn't do as well as when I just, and it's like, because you're deciding what the content is. It's not actually about how cute you are or whatever. We have seen this time and time again. Like actually people give your audience a little bit of faith. They're smarter and more sincere and deeper than you give them credit for. You assume people are shallow, then that's the people that you're gonna get. We all like hot people. We know you can turn that on when you want to turn it on. You don't want to turn it on all the time. And I'm like, no, it's the fact that you are just pushing material that is not about you, and it does well because it's now about that material. People get a little turned off when it's like, is this about you or is this about the joke? right? Are you making DBD content? Are you the DBD content or is it the DBD content? This is kind of random. I'm using a bad example, but it's like I see people kind of like, "Oh, why won't it do well? It's what am I doing?" It's like you're not doing anything wrong, baby. It's the game. To be interested in what they're interested in.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's not that they're not clicking on this because they think you're not hot. That's the wound you need to heal. And you're not going
Yeah.
to heal it making more and more content trying to get validation, because you could get that validation. You could go viral for this, like looking a certain, and it's like, that's not even why you're not going viral because you're hot. You think your content isn't doing well because you're not attractive, or the subject matter is not interesting, or you're not communicating the point in an interesting way. Any of these things could be true. But don't let other people's engagement with it kind of reinforce your projection. If you're trying to be on a mental health journey, be on a mental health journey. Don't use the thing that's hindering your mental health journey to, like, I don't know. It's just like, it's fucking crazy. Every day I'm like, someone is being very vulnerable and honest on Twitter about like, I am not happy. I don't know why I'm streaming. I feel bad. And I'm like, yes, you're so close. You're so close. Go to it. Go. Why are you streaming? Ask it. Ask that scary question to yourself. Why are you? Because you like the game? Because you want to connect with people? What is it?
You like attention? Liking attention is fine too.
It's fine. It's totally fine. But once you figure it out, because like people are more brilliant. I feel like I see moments of brilliance all the time.
Yeah.
I watch people that have like quote unquote like low viewership because I like them or because I think they're interesting. They make really interesting content. I know that it's not about the viewership. It's not about that. It's a half the time it's a marketing campaign. It's like, where were you 7 years ago? Where were you pre-pandemic? Were you on this platform? Oh, you weren't? Too bad. Like, I hate to, like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
People were home more often. People grew because of that. People like drag. If you don't do drag, people aren't going to watch you because they like drag. That's okay. They like drag.
Sometimes it's hard to remind people like, we are a niche of a niche of a niche. Like,
yeah, literally layers.
Like, take a step back and like look at the big picture and realize like what you're presenting in like the scope. It's okay, and you're doing amazing for what you're doing, and like it's also
you're
like
doing great. You're brilliant.
Yeah.
You're creative. You're amazing. This is not just because you haven't figured out the marketing strategy. You don't have a production team behind you. You don't. I'm showing up, and I think sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm showing up to stream with an MFA in design from like a top ranking like design school. It's not when people are like, wow, your streams look good. Wow, you're, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm investing a lot of time. I'm problem solving visually all the time because that's what I was taught to do. I have been in design institutions for the last 12 years of my life in one role or another. I give a fuck about this. I think we're participating in more poetry events in the space that I run. And I'm like, I can tell when a poet has like a background in theater, and it's like, and it helps the poetry. They perform it. You don't need, if that's what you want, then you got to do that thing to get to that thing. And
everything
that's okay.
translates.
Everything translates. It's not you. You are not what you make. If you do not create that boundary between what you produce, your value as a person cannot be contingent on anything but you just being you. And I think streaming really poisons that sometimes. It makes it so hard to see because you're like, well, I'm being myself. I'm in my room.
Invest in yourself.
Right? Yeah. You can't fucking make that distinction. It's just so hard. That's why. So when I see these co-working streams, I'm not like trying to project and be like, what should I do co-working stream? I'm like, because when I sometimes FaceTime with my friends when I'm designing, and they love watching me like play because you get to see the, it's fun. I love watching art streams, and it's just like, but it's okay that it's just me and my friend in this moment. And I know it's entertaining. I know so many people would think this is so fun to watch, but do I want that energy?
That energy is special, like between you and that other person, or maybe those other people. That's all you need.
That's all I need. And it's just like, it's so hard because I see so much creativity, especially within queer spaces on Twitch. Like I see, like, again, when I see like these moments, these like kind of moments of like, I don't know, like it's just like weird. It's indie. Like the content itself is like indie, Yeah, it's a bummer. Like more people don't know that you're doing this. Like they just don't know you exist because you're not putting yourself out there. You're like kind of yelling in this echo chamber and you're wondering. But it's like it takes so much time. It takes so much time. I hate this idea that people are like, you get made overnight. You don't. I love talking about Chaperone because I got to go on a double date with her because she was dating my like lesbian friend. Like my best friend is not lesbian, but she was just like in a very sapphic era of her life. And I got to go on a double date. And it was amazing. She's super nice and very pleasant. And this was
3 years ago. And at the time, they had a lot of conversations because Chaperone has been doing this since she was in high school.
Yeah.
Making YouTube videos.
Yeah. Concerts in the park.
I worked doing design for like the independent music management place that she had been with for a while. And like it's crazy that you can be with this like big kind of posh management house, literally the floor above TikTok. And that didn't help your career.
And she is like such a beautiful. I saw her like she sang Pink Pony because this was like a lesbian event that we went to, and so some of the event people like recognized her and they're like, "Hey, we have like a band. Would you be down to go up and perform?" And she performed Pink Pony Club to a bunch of these sapphics while she was on a date with this like girl, and she's like singing at her. It's like such a full circle moment.
Yeah.
And it's like. And I respect her because she sees Chapel as this like other persona. I'm not even going to use her real name because I'm like, I feel like she's made comments about that online. But it's interesting because it's like there is this like overnightness that we like kind of like, fantasize or like you just like figure it out one day. And it's like, no, you're in a constant state of figuring it out and responding to culture. You are a part of culture. You're a vehicle of culture and constantly responding to culture in real time. And you're creative. It takes time. Oh my God, you're holding yourself to these like, you're wondering why your podcast doesn't sound like these people that literally have a whole team, an editor, lighting tech. We shot.
We literally had this conversation like 2 or 3 days ago.
You can fake it if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You can kind of figure out, you can design problem solve. I talk about this all the time because I think everyone is also a designer, not a creative. Like I think everyone is a designer. And if people allow themselves to become designers, they will start problem solving design problems in their daily lives more actively. And they might benefit from it if they tackle it that way. Should like even like Chelora earlier being like, well, I'm on this side and Chara's on that other side, and we're looking, and I'm like, that's a design problem, and you can go deeper, right? You can kind of go deeper once you see it for what it is, right? It's like all of this is just design problem solving all the time, and even if you're not getting paid for it, it's okay to do it because it's nice to be in harmony with nature, right? It's nice to kind of be like, I like the way this looks. I like the way it sounds. It does sound good. I want it to sound good. Fucking figure out this little trick. I love the democratization of creativity. Why do I love Twitch? Because it's democratizing content for like the average person. I can go and have a channel where I am doing my own, I don't need to be Hulu to have this like little TV show, talk show. But when you don't realize that that's what you're doing, you get swept up in the machine and you start drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. You kind of don't like you guys are doing it in real time right now, right? You have a podcast and it's like you had to allow yourself at some point to be like, why don't I just do this? Does it need to become something more than what it is? I don't know. You have to allow it to kind of be it's like a baby.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to let it grow. You have to let it grow and fuck up. And this episode might kind of become nothing in the grand scheme of what this trajectory is for both of you. You have this connection, you have this chemistry, you want to talk. Maybe it isn't about, and you just don't know because you don't know what you don't know. You're in a constant state of becoming. I just was like word vomiting. I'm sorry. I know that's like kind of the point of a podcast. So
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to like hijack. I think this is like an important thing to talk about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We have to remind each other constantly, be like, look at what you're doing. Why are you doing it? Ask yourself why you're doing it all the time. Is it still bringing you joy? Let it go when it's not bringing you joy. Let go of the parts of it. You don't have to quit the whole damn thing. It's okay to mutate and transform.
Yeah.
And
or
be
bring
a
it back
butterfly.
later, or yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. Because I think if more people did that in our niche circles on Twitch, we would have a very interesting platform. And we would have very interesting communities. That's why I think at TwitchCon, I was like, it was such a beautiful moment. I really wish both of you could have made it because it felt like the least networking. At least for me. I got to show up and just be like, I'm not even streaming right now. And it was cool to kind of be like, wow, after all this time, and now people finally know who I am. 3 years ago, none of y'all give a fuck. And still people did not give a fuck until so-and-so was like, Baba, Sukar, like, and then now, and it's like, and I didn't even give a shit because I was like, I'm just here to hang out with my buddies that you also don't give a fuck about. I'm not going to talk to you because you're so-and-so. I'm going to talk to my friend who's been here since the beginning and took a chance on me because we enjoy each other. And it just felt like so, for me, it felt nice to kind of be like, this is what I got out of Twitch. I got a community. I got a bunch of weirdo friends, you know, and if that's what I get out of it, that's okay. If what I get is like a newfound love for gaming, that's okay.
Yeah.
And if I need to go and do something else that's creative with my life, that's okay. If it all comes back and it makes sense together, wonderful. I see people hanging on to this platform and to streaming in a way where they're like, oh baby, just let it go, let it die, let it die, let it die, and then let it resurrect.
Quit streaming.
Quit streaming. Do it. And come back in a month, come back in a year. Don't come back at all.
Yeah.
Be a fucking TikTok star. I don't know.
Try something else. I think also like we don't see if we even like or dislike something until it's gone. Like when your computer breaks and it won't get fixed for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, you have a lot of time to like reflect, especially if you're not like perpetually on your phone, on a laptop, whatever, still doing Twitch. Like let it all go do something else and preoccupy yourself while you're waiting for your PC to get fixed or replaced or whatever. If you really love it, you'll come back and you know, like those thoughts will come to you of like, oh, I really miss doing this. I loved it a lot. We need to do more self-reflection on like just 5 minutes at least of peace, of doing nothing, sitting on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Like
Literally.
because that's when we think about things. And like, I don't know, I've referenced this before, but there's a really interesting TED Talk that I've listened to about boredom and how it like fosters creativity and how like when we get burnt out, we have to go be bored. Because we like that's how you get it back is by being bored. Sometimes to be bored, you have to like let go of everything because there's just too much going on. I think it's been really long.
Yeah, it's been we were almost at 2 hours, but it's been I think it's been a very like healthy conversation. It's definitely been the conversation I've needed, and it's like it's been very like poignant, especially like topics that Chela and I have just discussed like in Discord calls or whatever here lately. Like a lot of those points are like hammering home a little bit more. Before we head out today, where can everybody find you, and what projects or advocacy things would you like to plug?
And what's your favorite indie game?
What's my favorite? That's a tough one, though. That's such a tough one. Okay, so you can find me. I'm at Sukar_Baba on Twitter. However, on everything else, on Instagram.
And I'm also Sukar_Baba on Twitch, of course.
Then on everything else, I'm Sukar.bb. So SUKAR.BB. Because I really am Baba and baby. That is the duality of my being on everything else. And if you want to support like a queer Arab run multidisciplinary studio, especially if you're in LA, follow Kefy Studio. That's KIEFY.studio, how you would spell studio. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us anywhere, honestly. That's kind of my, I guess, what I do outside of Twitch. I would love to plug that. I don't know. That's just like my art practice that I'm still figuring out. My favorite indie game is, I think right now it still has to be, for sure, it still has to be Thirsty Suitors. It still has to be. It has to be because I think it's just like, it's a mixture of all of my favorite things. Like it's not just queerness. It's like queer. It's like romantic drama also within queer circles. And within like, POC queer circles, being South Asian, being Swansa. I also just love the team behind it. I also just love skating. So it's like, I love that they it's just like, it feels like the insertion of all my favorite things into a game. Like I especially resonate a lot with the auntie that like weightlifts, the auntie in the show. Like that's me. So to me when I'm like, yeah, I want to be Auntie Chandra. Like that's me. I want to embody that lesbian auntie energy. I want to thank you guys. I hope that this was like, I really wanted to show up as myself, and I really love that you both are kind of pushing the envelope or like kind of pushing yourselves to find creativity and joy. Like you're taking what you kind of got from Twitch and really running with it, and I really just appreciate that because you get to inspire me to kind of figure out what I want to do. Like even just like kind of being able to talk to you like this is like it inspires me to kind of figure out how I want to self-actualize. I'm hoping this conversation is giving you something to reflect about how you want to actualize yourself, because I think you're both really talented, and it's hard being gifted and just not knowing how to put it out there, because half the time it's just like you just don't know where the stage is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're just making it work, and you have to keep fucking it up and enjoy the fuckery. Enjoy the fact that if this video gets deleted by accident for whatever reason, I'm just hopefully no.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on something, right? But if it did, you can kind of also just be like, wow, we facilitated this conversation, and I hope you both feel, I don't know, affirmed in the fact that your creativity is valid and beautiful and brilliant, regardless of the audience that finds you or doesn't find you for whatever reason. I'm cementing that for myself. I'm saying it to you because I'm really trying to say it to myself.
You did all the work.
Let us all shake hands spiritually now.
That's
like, yeah, like just like kind of, yeah, like something, like just like let our spirits touch a little, and then and then we can just like, okay, I'll leave the call so you two can kiki and like be like, well, that was weird.
You didn't even
exactly
sign
what
off.
we're talking about.
No.
Yeah, isn't that what we're talking about? Like literally, like that was crazy.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank y'all for being here. Well, thank you for listening to the pod if you've been listening or watching the video for watching the video. But thank you again, Sukar, for being an incredible guest for this episode and taking the time to sit and chat with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for having me. Okay.
So we will see you all in the next one. And until then, bye!
Oh.
Well, I guess I'll hit stop recording then.